Alright, so here are some problems out of 5.3b. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to simplify these things. Okay, and simplify them as much as possible. And what we mean by simplify, because you're going to see simplify all the time. We simplify by writing as few things as possible. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I see I'm subtracting a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do my sign changes. So whenever I'm adding things, I can move them around how I want. Now I'm going to explore for like terms. I'm going to see, well, I've got a 2z to the 4th power. I know I can simplify this if I can add it to another 2z to the 4th power. Look at this, say, well, this isn't going to work. This is 4z to the 2nd power. Okay, now when you have things of different powers, you cannot add them together. For example, I cannot take x plus x squared. They are not like terms. This is an x, and this is an x times x. So if you think of this as a number, this number is much, much, much larger. So if I try to add these things together, I'm going to end up with something that's not right. Okay? So I can only add this to another term that has a z and a 4th power, to the 4th power. So I look along and go, oh, here we go. There's a z to the 4th power. That's the only one. So here I've got 2 z to the 4th powers, and here I've got negative 4 z to the 4th powers. So what's the net? Negative 2 z to the 4th power. Notice I don't do anything with the powers because I'm adding things together. This is saying I've got 2 of them. This is saying I've got negative 4. So net, I've got negative 2. I'm going to see if there's anything else I can add together. And I look at this and go, aha, that's a z squared. That's a z squared. So I simply take their coefficients and add them together. So what's negative 4 plus negative 2? Well, that's negative 6, and it is a z squared. So that is the final result of that. Alright, now down here we have a completely different situation. We can still simplify this, but notice we are not adding or subtracting anything. Okay? So there's no adding or subtracting going on. It's all multiplication. Multiplication is a bit different animal. When we multiply things together, we can multiply them together in a string. Okay, and we can move them around. Because 2 times 3 times 4 is the same thing as 4 times 3 times 2, which is the same thing as 2 times 3, times 4 times 3. We can multiply things together in any order we want. Okay? Now this gets messed up if we throw in some division, by the way. I know this kind of goes against some of the order of operations. But we're just multiplying, it's okay. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take this negative 8 and we're going to take that 3 and multiply it together, which is negative 24. Okay? Now we're going to count how many w's we have. Here we've got 4 of them. And here we're multiplying another 2 in. Okay? Now, essentially what this is saying, we've got w times w times w times w, right? There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're multiplying that by a w times w. So really, how many w's do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we remember how exponents work, this is saying we've got w to the 6th power. So the same is true with the p's. This p here is saying I've got 1 of those, right? Its exponent is 1. This one here is saying I've got 2, so I'm going to have a p times a p times a p, right? There's the 1, there's the 2. So how many of them are there? There are 3. Okay? So there's that, simplified.